welcome back. Today we're going to be learning all about organelles and what organelles do within a cell. And then we're going to wrap up with labeling all the organelles in some cells. So to start, again, organelles are going to be the tiny, small miniature organs within cells. They're located in plant and animal cells, as well as fungi cells and protist cells. And each organelle is going to have a specific job or function, very similar to how in our bodies we have organs that each have their own function. This is going to be located in cells as well. Cells have their own mini organs that are each going to have a function. Now, we're studying cells because cells are found in all living things, and in biology we're studying living things. And cells are the basic unit of life. Many cells are going to make tissues, many tissues make organs, and many organs are going to make us, organ systems, and then people. So cells essentially do all the work of life. In order to understand them, we have to understand what they're made of. Therefore, we need to know the organelles. So cells can have all different types of jobs. So they are responsible for breathing, helping us eat and digest food, making energy, building our macromolecules, our proteins, carbs, lipids, and fats, and nucleic acids. They're responsible for removing waste. They help us control our internal condition and maintain homeostasis. Helps us respond to our environment and build more cells in the event that we need to grow or that we get injured. So this is going to be very important to living things and keeping us stable. Overall, we're going to say cells have three main categories of jobs. The first main category is going to be to make energy. Energy is going to be needed for all the different cellular activities in our body. It's needed to clean up waste. It's needed to help us maintain our chemical reactions. So energy making is very important. Number 2 main job is going to be to help us make proteins. Last unit, we talked about proteins and enzymes and why they are very, very important in living things. Each one has a special job, and we need lots of them because they're very specific. And then number 3 main job of cells is to make more cells. We need to make more cells to grow. We need to make more cells in the event that we get injured. So if I injure myself, I need to be able to grow new cells in order to repair that injury. So our 3 main jobs of cells: make energy, make proteins, and to make more cells. So we're going to start by looking at each organelle individually. So again, each organelle has a job to do, and it's going to help to keep you alive. So we're going to start by looking at the cell membrane. The cell membrane is found around the outside of the cell. It's what separates the inside of the cell from the outside environment. The job of the cell membrane is to control what enters and exits the cell. So the job is to determine what enters and exits the cell. So examples would be: we need to take in oxygen, we need to remove carbon dioxide. We need to take in food, water, and nutrients. We need to get rid of waste. That's the cell membrane's job. The cell membrane also is going to help cells communicate with one another. Since this is on the outside of the cells, it's what's in contact with other cells around it. Now, the cell membrane is made up of two layers of fat called the phospholipid bilayer. So phospholipid is the name of the special lipid found in the cell membrane, and it's called a bilayer because it's found in two layers. Essentially, the cell membrane has one row of phospholipids, so these are my phospholipids. This is one layer of phospholipids. The second layer is going to be oriented right below it with the tails of the phospholipids in the middle. So this is what my cell membrane is going to look like. This would be a small section of cell membrane. Within the cell membrane, you're going to have receptor molecules, which are proteins that send and receive signals, and that's how they communicate, is by the proteins. So in my cell membrane, I may have a protein right here, and my cell membrane continues on the other side. So that is the cell membrane. In our cell labeling here, this outside red border is the cell membrane. Next, we're going to talk about vacuoles and vesicles. Vesicles are going to transport things around the cell or move materials around cells. So vesicles are like little vehicles that move around the cell. Vacuoles are storage centers. They store things. So store extra water or extra food. Vacuoles store. Now, we do want to mention that there is a special vacuole found in plants called the central vacuole. I did not mean to do that. I meant to underline here. Central vacuole found in plant cells. And this organelle, the central vacuole, of course it stores. So it's used for storing water in plants. So it stores water and waste in plants. And they are also helpful in giving plants their shape. So if we were to look at a cell, here's our plant cell. This very, very large, seemingly fluid-filled organelle in the middle is the central vacuole that stores water and waste for the plant. So if you see central vacuole, it's only referring to plants. Our next organelle that we're going to talk about is the lysosome. The lysosome is used to digest or break down food. And then, after you digest the food, you're going to use that to make the energy in the cell. These are also used to clean up and recycle in plant cells. So if you have an organelle that's just old and not really doing a job anymore, or if you have something extra in your cell, the lysosome is there to help break it down. So lysosomes help break down or digest food in a cell. Lysosomes are often going to be the color red because they have digestive enzymes. Therefore, they sometimes are acidic in helping break things down, so oftentimes it's going to be red. So here, over here, this is our red lysosome for digestion and breaking things down. Next organelle we're talking about is the mitochondria. Mitochondria are found in both plant and animal cells. Their job is to make ATP. ATP is energy. So they make ATP, energy, from cellular respiration. So the mitochondria does cellular respiration in order to make ATP. Now, I do want to point out what a mitochondria looks like. Mitochondria looks like kind of like an oval, I guess you could say. And inside it has lots of squigglies. So this is what a mitochondria will look like. It's found in both plant and animal cells. So if we look at this picture, our mitochondria here has the squigglies, and it's going to be used to make energy. The next organelle we're going to talk about is the chloroplast, and its job is to do photosynthesis in plants. And photosynthesis is going to make sugar or food for plants. And it only uses water, carbon dioxide, and sunlight to make that sugar. So this is only going to be found in photosynthetic organisms like plants. So if it's green, it's going to have a chloroplast. Now I want to show you what a chloroplast looks like. Oftentimes mitochondria and chloroplasts are mixed up based on appearance. Mitochondria has the squiggles, but chloroplasts on the inside are going to have stacks of green structures that look like, you can think, stacked coins or pancakes, but it has a list or a stack of flattened sacs, and again, the chloroplast is green. So the chloroplast is green because it does photosynthesis. And again, these are only found in organisms that do photosynthesis like plants. So our animal cell has no chloroplast. Our plant cell has a mitochondria and a chloroplast. Okay, so the next organelle we are going to talk about, going into starting our protein making section, is the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell. And it contains chromosomes or DNA, which is the instruction for how to make a protein. So DNA contains genes packaged in chromosomes. That is the genetic information that provides the code for how to make a protein. The nucleus is often found in the center of the cell. It has a spherical structure, so it is circular. It has an outer protective nuclear membrane. And inside of it, it has what is called the nucleolus, which makes ribosomes. We're going to talk about the importance of ribosomes here in a second. So the nucleus is a circular organelle, and inside of the nucleus you're going to see a dark spot, which is the nucleolus, which is responsible for making ribosomes. So if we were to look at a cell, here is our nucleus. Inside, we see a smaller circle, which is the nucleolus, which makes ribosomes. Now, ribosomes are very important because their job is to build proteins. And the proteins are going to read the instructions found in the DNA. So ribosomes read the instructions found in the DNA to build proteins. Now, we do have two types of ribosomes. Some are free, floating around in the cytoplasm, and some are attached to the ER. So there are some floating around in the cell, which are free, but you can also find them attached to the ER. So these little dots all over the ER here, these are ribosomes. So we have here some ribosome floating around in the ER, or in the cytoplasm, and then we have them also attached to the ER here. Okay, so we talked about the ER. Now let's talk about the ER itself a bit in more detail. So the ER, the endoplasmic reticulum, is the manufacturing center for proteins. So the ER is going to help complete proteins and then transport them to where they need to be. I spelled that right? Yep. So the ER helps finish the proteins and then transport them to where they need to be. And there are two types of ER. Rough ER has ribosomes attached. So ER that has all the ribosomes on it appears rough. It has ribosomes attached, and its job relates to proteins. Whereas the smooth ER lacks ribosomes, there's no ribosomes on it, and its job is to make cell membranes. So the ER, typically in a cell, the ER surrounds the nucleus. The rough ER has ribosomes on it. Its job is to help with proteins. Smooth ER has no ribosomes on it, and it helps make membranes. The next organelle we're going to talk about is the Golgi apparatus, or the Golgi body, and its job is to finish, sort, label, and ship out proteins. You could think of this as like the UPS center. It ships out proteins and packages to where they need to be. Now, we talked about earlier vesicles. Vesicles are used to transport. So the Golgi is going to have vesicles branch off to carry things where they need to go. Because remember, vesicles are like vehicles. So the Golgi is going to be a series of flattened sacs that look like this. And they're also going to have little budding vesicles that are carrying things where they need to be. So if we were to look here at our cell, sometimes it's easy to get the ER and the Golgi confused, but the ER is wrapped around the nucleus. That's the ER. Any stack of flat sacs that is away from the nucleus, out here, is the Golgi body. Okay. The next organelle that we are going to talk about, this is going to help in our creating new cells, because remember, our third function of cells would be to make new cells. So the first organelle we're going to talk about in that category is the centriole, and these are going to help with cell division. So they help move DNA during cell division, but only in animal cells. So centrioles, they look like this. They almost look like yellow Twizzlers. And their job is to help move DNA during cell division, but they're only found in animal cells. The cytoskeleton is a system of structural support. It gives cells its shape, and it helps keep organelles in place. It also helps with mobility, like the cilia, which are the little hairs, and the flagella, which is the tail. And it gives a method for transportation. It helps provide a highway and an organization for things to move from one place to another in the cell. So the cytoskeleton is going to be very important. Okay, so now we've talked about them all. Now we have to label them up. So here's our animal cell. We know it's an animal cell because it's circular and it's not green. Over here we have a red organelle. Again, red organelles, I said, typically contain digestive enzymes, so this is the lysosome. The big circle in the middle here is the nucleus. We have the little dots on the ER, but also free in the cytoplasm. Those are the ribosomes. Series of flattened sacs separated from the nucleus is the Golgi body. Here, surrounding the nucleus, some with dots, some without dots. This is the ER. We have the rough here with the ribosomes on it, and out here we have smooth with no ribosomes. Surrounding the whole cell, we have the cell membrane. We have our oval-shaped organelle here with squigglies in the middle. That is our mitochondria. Our yellow Twizzlers here are the centrioles. We have a vesicle here for transport. And then the jelly filling, which is just the junk in the middle, is the cytoplasm. So that is our animal cell. Next, we're going to label a plant cell. Similar, but it does have a few different organelles. So, our large circular organelle is the nucleus. The dot inside of the nucleus that makes ribosomes is called the nucleolus. Surrounding the nucleus is the ER. This one is rough ER because it has ribosomes. The one without the ribosomes is the smooth ER. Plant cells have this large organelle in the middle that stores water called the central vacuole. Plant cells have an outer protective covering called the cell wall. A plant's green organelle that has stacks of coins or stacks of pancakes is the chloroplast. Here we have a lysosome. The very inner membrane is the cell membrane. Here is our oval-shaped organelle with squiggles. That is the mitochondria. Our series of sacs away from the nucleus is the Golgi body. And our free fluid is the cytoplasm. All right, so we're going to have lots of practice remembering the function of these organelles with some matching, and we're also going to have some games for labeling these organelles to remember which ones are which. So that is going to be on Canvas. So go ahead and check that out.